Alrighty everyone, welcome back. We are now getting closer to the Mandalorian Season 3 finale that is all set and ready to debut, technically of course tonight, but tomorrow. And there's a lot of fans that are really prepping to see exactly how Jon and Dave wrap things up for the third season as we cross the bridge into Season 4, which by the way is getting rewritten in some areas of the script in response to the Season 3 fan reception, of course, as of late. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that there's a lot of things that are happening between George, Jon, and Dave when it comes to really making a lot of changes toward the sequel trilogy films and how a lot of that will be shifted in the second season of Ahsoka series, of course. Now, we know that everything is happening simultaneously over at Lucasfilm, given that Jon and Dave are working on over a dozen projects, all of which are a mixture of animated and live-action material that's going to also impact specific elements of the sequel trilogy movies. Now, one thing about George Lucas is that he has been really convincing Disney to do specific things with the Star Wars lore, the franchise overall, and how big of an impact specific choices that they will be making are going to have on movies, of course, like The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. And what's really all the more exciting about this is that there's a lot of thought process going into these shows now, given that Jon and Dave have a lot of creative input and authority now over at Lucasfilm, a lot of privileges after their promotions, everything in 2023 moving onward. They basically have a lot of creative power over that. Now, with that being all put out there and said, given that Disney is getting ready to make more announcements later this year, George Lucas is getting more involved in the upcoming projects being led by Favreau and Filoni. However, one thing that Lucas is currently putting together with Jon and Dave is set to break the sequel trilogy canon, as fans know it. Specific retcons are currently being pitched together by Lucas with the help of Jon and Dave that is set to drastically alter the ending of Episode 9. Now, it's noted that Lucas is currently setting things up that Ben Solo never really died at the end of Episode 9, and that he has been convincing Disney for the past number of months to keep him as one of the surviving Skywalkers in the sequels. Lucas is said to be doing something special that happened when Ben Solo transferred his life force to Rey and appeared to vanish. However, that plan right now is that Lucas is actively setting something up that Ben Solo crossed into the world between worlds, where there is a time differential. This, of course, is something that Lucas pitched to Jon and Dave, and they are reportedly moving ahead with this plan, that Ben Solo spent a little time in the WBW for a matter of months, where the outside world it has passed roughly over 10 whole years to set things up for the Rey film. So let me just stop right here for 1 second. Now, the thing that I find to be so interesting about this is that if you guys have read the novelization, they never directly say whatever happened to Ben Solo. It's all left very ambiguous. He says something around the lines of, "I will always be with you," to Rey, kind of like in typical Force Ghost fashion, right? But nothing from the author stated that Ben Solo was a Force Ghost when he said that. Not a spirit, no nothing like that. So George is taking that opportunity of the ambiguous moment in there and really turning it into something that can actually change the ending of Episode 9. Now, the thing that's going to be done as a specialty with the whole life force exchange most certainly has a lot to do with what Jon and Dave have been planning to do to kind of transfer that essence to Rey to eventually have a child. That's something that has been in discussion for a very long time now, and it seems like George Lucas picked up on that and is working around that to make it perfected. Something that a lot of fans may like or dislike, who knows, but the WBW idea makes a lot of sense, and there's actual lore that connects to it that makes even all the more sense. On Exegol, which by the way is where Ben Solo supposedly perished, underneath the surface of Exegol there is a thing called the Virgins of the Force, and the Sith cultists believed that the Virgins of the Force had some kind of connection to the world between worlds. Given that Palpatine knew about the WBW, he informed them that there is some kind of connection between the worlds and the Virgins of the Force. that vergence lies underneath the surface of Exegol, which is exactly why the cultists were mining on there and trying to find something related to that. Given that Ben Solo fell down into the pit, there is a connection there, and you can see where George Lucas is trying to tying things together and connecting things. So, the time differential thing is interesting. The fact that he spent months in there, and the plan is that it passed time by 10 plus years to set up this new Rey movie that takes place 15 years after Episode 9. Now, with Adam Driver already in the talks to return for the Rey film, he is already signed on to return in the post-Episode 9 series that will also feature Rey. Lucas is pushing this overall plan to make it that Ben Solo never died, but rather got stuck in some kind of middle point between the mortal world and the netherworld, and how they are planning on making it canon that the WBW is the bridge to both realms. Disney is already enjoying the pitch to bring back Ben Solo for the fans at Disney, and given that they loved Adam Driver's performance, they want him back for the character toward the tail end of Episode 9 to be changed when it comes to the canon. So here's the thing about this that I think some fans may like or dislike, right? On one end, fans are gonna love this because they never wanted Ben Solo to die, not even J.J. Abrams did. On the other end, this character that was once thought to be dead is coming back to life again. This is another character that would be brought back, like a gotcha moment that he never really died, like Boba Fett, Palpatine, Darth Maul. There's a lot of other examples in the franchise as well. So, yes, I understand in Legends Boba Fett survived. It's just this, overall plan also to bring back Mace Windu. That's another thing that Lucasfilm is planning to do, by the way. That's been well under development for over a year and a half now. But there's a lot of other things going into this that I think makes a lot of sense, like I explained before. The whole Exegol, Virgins of the Force connection, you can see where George Lucas is picking up on that. So, the whole Rey movie, the fact that they are trying to get Adam Driver on board is a big deal. If Adam comes back eventually, I think that could very well give the movie more value, as opposed to if it were just strictly about Rey herself, and focusing on two different, sides of the story would make it a more powerful and driven, movie in my opinion. Given that he's already signed on, like we talked about for this post-Episode 9 series by John and Dave, they love Adam Driver, they got him on board to really make this happen, but George here really, breaking the sequel trilogy canon, especially shifting the ending and the meaning of Episode 9's climax is a very big deal, given that, a lot of fans always thought that it was something that was so ambiguous that it could have been answered in a novel, but it wasn't, or even a comic, but it wasn't. So I'm glad that George is taking up the opportunity to actually take advantage of that ambiguous moment and really kind of building on top of that. So anyways, I would love to hear what you all have to say about this specific work in development by George, John, and Dave, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.